Welcome to First Tuesdays with Heart, everybody. It is Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. First Tuesdays with Heart is sponsored by the Heart Peer Support Team in connection with the Resiliency and Justice Center. HEART stands for Healing, Empowering, and Rebuilding Together. We're a peer support program for anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. Real quick, we want to introduce you to our HEART team. Alice is a licensed professional counselor. She's also a certified life coach. She is the co-founder and co-director of Heart, and she also facilitates the Route 91 and UNLV support groups. Jackie is a licensed marriage and family therapist. She is the behavioral health program coordinator for the Resiliency and Justice Center. She is one of our original Heart coaches, and she facilitates the Route 91 and continue the conversation with Heart support groups. And I'm Jill Winter. I'm co-founder and co-director of Heart. I'm a Route 91 survivor. I co-facilitate the UNLV support group with Alice and the Continue the Conversation with Heart support groups with Jackie. So we always like to start with a meme or something that goes along with what our topic tonight is. We found this one: safety is not a place. It's a state your body can learn. And I know for me that safety has been so important since my incident. A lot of other survivors I've talked to have said the same thing. It's just like that's our number one thing now. So tonight we are thrilled to introduce Linda Herrick. Linda is the owner of Herrick Hypnosis. She's a certified hypnosis instructor through the International Hypnosis Federation and a Reiki master of over 30 years. And I happen to be getting my certification under Linda. Linda has a passion for helping people awaken to their true self with their own healing abilities, gifts, and talents. She helps people move from constant internal alert to a greater sense of safety and steadiness in their body. Through simple, practical techniques, she shows how to ease the intensity of overwhelming moments and return to a place of steadiness and clarity without having to push, process, or figure everything out. Her work is especially supportive for those who carry a lot internally and are ready for a different way to hold it, which I know a lot of us impacted by mass violence fall into that category. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Linda.
Thank you, Jill. I so appreciate that. I am so very glad that you are all here, and I am very honored to be here this evening. And I was invited here by someone in the community that I respect very much. And when she mentioned this, I jumped at it and I did not hesitate because what she has taught me is just how resilient um, our nervous system can be and the strength that we can pull for ourselves. And so today we're going to talk about what our system has been doing and why. And I'm going to walk you through a something simple that you can take home with you. Before we begin, I always like to begin with this. You can join me if you'd like, but I like to place my hands over my heart and take a deep breath in and just settle into this moment, feeling the chair beneath you and the support of that. So we can settle being here and now. So oftentimes I do that for me, and I love to share that with others. Before we begin, I want to make sure something's very clear. Nothing I share today is going to fix anything. You don't need to be fixed. It's meant to help you understand why your system is working the way it does and how we can adjust that a bit. That being said, you're always in control of your attention And in this space, if at any point something feels like too much, it's very easy to shift. Take a deep breath, look around your room, and find 5 things that are either blue or green. Just slowly look for 5 things and breathe in. And kind of, and the thing to always remember is the primary job of your system is to keep you safe, not calm, not joyful, safe. Primary objective is to keep you safe. And so our systems do a great job at this. And sometimes during an incident, that control of safety gets a little sensitive. And so it's very much like a security system that is just very, very sensitive, or a smoke alarm that is just so sensitive that it starts going off even when you just turn on your stove. All of a sudden it's going off. So we really want to see if we can adjust that down just a little bit. And we tend to think of our reaction to things as personality, but it's really just patterns that our system learned. And there's one response that I feel doesn't get enough attention, and that is the freeze response. Oftentimes that's not spoken about enough. And freeze isn't weakness, it's your body hitting the pause button. And when moving might feel not your best move, basically. And with freeze, though, oftentimes you may have a feeling of disconnection, of numbness, that can show up as very low energy, a feeling of like a shutdown feeling within you. And it can make very simple decisions incredibly difficult. So freeze may show up as I feel stuck and I don't know why. I go blank when I try to make a decision. I feel disconnected from things I used to enjoy. I just do not have the energy that I used to. Imagine coming home after a long day and just sitting in your car for 20 minutes, unable to go inside. Not because anything's wrong, but just because your system needs a moment. This is not you going backwards. It really is your body is just still protecting you. It's your very sensitive security system or smoke detector protecting you. Other ways your system might show up are fight, flight, fawn, and you may already be very aware of these, and you may recognize yourself in one or more of these. And what's interesting is that it's just different bodies and different strategies, and you can find yourself moving from one to another, one to another, one to another, knowing that they are all there for the same purpose. Sometimes when we experience things, we want to fight against it, or we tell ourselves that there's something wrong with us for that. And instead, it's really a matter of embracing it is saying, I understand that you're there to make me safe, and I so appreciate it. It's just that you don't have to yell. You could whisper. And so it's a matter of turning the volume down to make sure that it's there to keep us safe, but not to be so sensitive that bells and alarms are going off when they don't need to be. And so if the system learns through experience, the fastest way to teach it something else is not through thinking, it's actually through experiencing. And so I'm going to walk you through something in just a moment, a wonderful thing that you can join me if you'd like. You can watch or you can actually do it, but I would encourage you to, if you feel comfortable enough, to go ahead and join me with this. And just know that right now we're not trying to turn anything off. We're just giving your system a different signal, like letting that sensitive security system know you can ease up a little. This moment, everything's okay. So, if you do this first, it always works better. That may or may not be true, but it looks very dramatic. So we're going to rub our hands together and place one hand on one shoulder and the other hand on the other, just a crisscross in front of you. It can be on your shoulders, your upper arms. I'm there with my microphone. It's easier in my upper arms. Things are pulling out of my ears. That's exciting. And we're just going to take a deep breath and do a little bit of tapping. Left, right, left, right, left, right. You can feel this wonderful rhythm as you continue to tap and as I continue to speak to you. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Nice and easy, no force. Just continue with this lovely rhythm. And like a quiet rhythm, your system can kind of lean into. And you may find yourself rocking a bit. That's certainly okay. This is just a wonderful way that you can help reset things. And this is bilateral stimulation, okay? As you go, continuing on, alternating back and forth. And as we do this, you may notice some things. You may notice your shoulders drop. You may notice your breathing may shift a bit. Just notice what you notice. You may feel a bit lighter or a bit more settled. Or perhaps nothing obvious at all. And that's okay too. Your system is just receiving this pattern. And if you notice that your mind wanders, it's okay, just allow it to. Just allow this rhythm to be there in the background. And sometimes the body starts to settle. Sometimes it takes a little longer. We're not trying to make anything happen. We're just giving your system something steady and easy to follow. And you can even slow the pace. And now, just allow your tapping to come to a stop. Place your hands in your lap and allow them to rest. Taking a deep breath. And just notice. There's no need to search for something. Just notice what you notice. And you may notice your breath, your body, or the space around your body. Even the smallest shift counts. Whatever you noticed just now, that was your system responding to you. And if you're willing to share, I would love to hear what it is that you did notice. You can raise your hand or put it in the chat.
I know, I felt myself calming down, and even just the tapping was also like giving myself a big hug, which just kind of like that closeness felt really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyone else want to share?
I'll share.
Yes, Cindy.
I'm not so sure how much I can share, but I had an experience this weekend that was so traumatizing. I fell into an enormous, like the longest, worst panic attack I'd ever experienced. It was probably 45 minutes. And I did the tapping, and it didn't, I was way too dysregulated by the time I was doing the tapping, and just doing it again right now triggered so much in me because it took me back to that dysregulation. So I don't know if you have any suggestions about that. I don't know if the tapping, I can ever use that again. But because it's part of that, it's incorporated now into that panic attack forming, because it's one of the strategies I used and it didn't work. And I tried it again just now, and it triggered me and took me back to that panic attack.
There is something else that, this is really great for bilateral stimulation. Okay. And the other thing that you can do, which can be the same thing, that there's no tapping, is that you take a magic pen. Oh, look, I have one here. Or any object that you happen to have in front of you. Do you have something?
Yes.
Okay. Hold it out in front of you, about right here. And then you're just going to take your other hand and take it all the way out to the side, bring it back, and just cross over this way. And then start following it with your eyes from one side to the other, one side to the other, noticing your breathing. And when you start, that might be rather quickly that it's going back and forth to match what you're feeling, but then slow that object down. Like, let's say to perhaps a 6. How fast would it be going if it were a 6? And then take a nice deep breath. Now let's just slow it down, and your object can actually start going down as well. And if it were a 5, and are you at least at 5 right now?
Yes.
Okay, you're doing great. And so take a nice deep breath. And I wonder what that would look like at a 4 or even a 3. What would be the rate that you do this, and how high it would be or low? And then as you take another deep breath, I wonder what 2 would look like as you go back and forth looking at that. Hold it in front of you, take a nice deep breath. And I wonder what that number may be now.
It's probably a 2.
Good. Good. And so the key, and I'll say this about the technique and the exercise we just did, it's really good to do when you're calm. So this may not be for you, but for everyone else, this is really just practice this once a day or whenever you think about it when you are calm. For you, do that pen, the magic pen, when you're calm, because then that will be the connection and the anchor to go, I have the pen, I'm calm. During that very heightened emotion, and you were tapping, then that all of a sudden got anchored into that emotion, the high emotion. So we need to make sure our anchors are very calming anchors that we go, that's better. And so, like we have music that is anchored, and when you hear that song that was at your junior high dance, like, it's like back there, that the dance, right? And it's because that song will anchor that was a fun time, and Billy didn't ask me to dance, but I'm not bitter. And and it anchors that feeling in that experience. So we want to make sure that you have tools to anchor those experiences, the positive experiences, that you can get right back to that then. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Would anyone else care to share? Okay. I want to say this. What you just felt, we're going to keep building on that in a little bit in a positive way. And right now, you can say to yourself quietly, I am safe right here, right now.
Safe. Right here, right now.
And before we finish this evening, just take a moment to notice what you did. You showed up, you stayed, and you experienced something new with your body. And keep in mind that your system learned over time with reinforcement and things. And it gets to unlearn over time as well. And you just took a step in that direction this evening. And your system heard that. And it felt that. So when things get loud again, and they will sometimes, you now have something to come back to. Not a fix, just a reminder. A reminder that says, I can do this. I am okay. Please be aware that you really did something today. And you want to keep going. And I love that. I feel more focused. Thank you. It's important to be so gentle with ourselves and to remember you're always talking to an inner child, your inner child, and say, that's okay. We can do this. I've got this. And I truly believe that you do. Thank you so much for inviting me here today. And it really means a lot. And I hope you found it beneficial. And thank you.
Thank you, Linda. That was great. Does anybody have any questions or comments? And Cindy, how are you doing? Let's just make sure about that first.
I'm okay.
Okay.
It's just that I started because I felt me spinning, and I started using strategies. I got up, I left, I walked, I did my deep breathing, my diaphragmatic breathing, I did my square breathing, and I returned to the place and I said, this is not working. My strategies are not working. And things got worse and worse from there. And fortunately, I was with a therapist and she, coached me through the rest of the panic attack. But it was, so I understand the moving the pen and what have you, but I get the sense that would not have kept me from spinning into the abyss where I was.
And can I ask?
I don't know. I guess that's my question to you. When things are going in that direction that quickly, and I mean, even she couldn't get me back. She said, name the colors, feel your feet on the ground. I knew all the things, and she was coaching me through them. She gave me ice. She put her hand, her palm on my forehead, and she told me to push into it, which seemed to help a bit. Her touch was what did it for me. But and what you taught me is another tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've never spun off like that into a panic attack to that degree in that long of a time. So I don't know. I know the tools, and I was using the tools. They just weren't managing the level of dysregulation that I was experiencing.
So, Cindy, what I would suggest is find a tool that you do like. And the important thing is to use that tool not when you're up here, but use the tool down here all the time.
But I have used those tools, Linda. I
Oh,
know
good.
you know what we've all been through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're well versed in tools, and I couldn't. I use the tools, and I use the
Cindy,
tools all the time, you know, and they,
Cindy, I had that happen to me a couple years ago where I tried all the tools and nothing was helping. And for some reason, I was like, oh my gosh, I ended up calling another router who was able to talk to me because, as we all know, we don't need to hear the what's wrong, what do you need. It's just more of that calm, steady voice, somebody who understands. And it sucks. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often. Unfortunately, we don't know when it's going to happen. And it's just something that we have to, it takes time to work through. I mean, it took me probably a good 45 minutes to an hour to really get, completely down. And that was hard. That was really hard because other panic attacks I had had, you know, and don't, I've definitely had them, but they haven't lasted nearly to that degree. And that it felt powerful and all consuming.
Yes. Yes.
I could not have made a phone call. There's
Okay.
was completely,
I'm glad you were not alone, that that person was with you.
yeah.
And yes, Jackie.
Let me unmute. Sorry. Just a few thoughts. I would agree with Jill. They suck. I think that was the word you used.
That's a technical term, I believe.
That is a very technical term. And Cindy, even as a therapist, I'm a person who has had panic attacks, typically during very, very stressful times in my life. Um, uh, and sometimes, no matter the tools we use, it just takes time for our body to return to some state of calm. Because, and I would agree with Linda in that she's so spot on that our our I always say our brain's job is to keep the body safe and alive at all costs. And if our brain detects danger or we have something that activates us in a sense of feeling unsafe, the body's going to go into hyperdrive. Sort of think of yesterday was May 4th, so I think of Star Wars, like when the ship just takes off and all you see is the lights. The challenge may be that you might pull out all of the coping skills and you feel like you're just grabbing things off of a shelf and nothing is working in that moment. It may be that the thing to say to ourselves is, this will stop at some point. This will end. Now, I don't know when. I've had some pretty long ones myself. Full disclosure, for me, when I started having panic attacks, it was when a loved one was near the end of life. And I went and got medication, to be totally honest with you. That is not for everybody.
I took
But for me,
medication. I took Clonopin. It
okay,
didn't touch it. It did not touch it. I mean, that was like, I, I,
yeah,
I said,
yeah,
I've got to take something. And
yeah.
it didn't,
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, because the body was already in hyperspace. Yeah, for sure. And I have no problem saying that because for me, I needed that for a period of time to be able to use the tools. The other thing that I try to practice, and I think Linda touched on this, is the notion of practicing the skills when you're calm, which is something we don't always do. It's kind of like, I always think of it like, we have books up on a bookshelf, and when we start to have it, we start grabbing all the books to see what will work. And it does help if you can pair the activity, whatever works for you, with when you're calm. So my go-to is breathing, to be honest with you. Um, and just practicing that box breathing that Jill has taught me. That's one of my favorites. Um, and so I try to do that at different points throughout the day, just when I'm calm. Don't need it, just gonna do it because it's gonna help. Um, and therefore then my brain associates that with calm. But it's also true that, again, there may be a situation or an activating situation that just takes you from 0 to 100. And it's going to take time for that to calm back down, even over the long haul. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And just kind of accepting that. Like, okay, brain, I totally get what you're doing. All the bells and whistles are going off. I get why, makes sense to me. But this will not last forever. I do not believe in the history of humans. I don't believe somebody has had a panic attack and been stuck there for the rest of their lives. I don't think so, but correct me if I'm wrong. And that sounds,
I love what you said, because you can tell yourself this too shall pass. It's very
that
much
I'm not going to be stuck here. Yeah,
it's
forever.
very much like a toddler that may just lose it in the grocery store. Okay, there's no coming back. They're overtired. They're whatever that case is. They're just gone. And again, there's never been a toddler stuck in that area.
That is a good point. I gotta admit, though, we were in Missouri last week for work doing training, and in an airport there was kids falling out all over the place, and I looked at my colleague Larea. Some of you guys know Larea, and I said, can we just be toddlers? Can we just scream and throw ourselves on the floor? And she's like, I think we'd be arrested. And I'm like, isn't it wild that small children can express all this big feelings, big emotions, and all this, and everyone just either gets annoyed by it or goes, oh gosh, poor parent. I was in that zone. But as adults, we have to keep it together. I mean, forget it. I'm tired too. We've been traveling, we've been in a tornado, all the things. But
Cindy, in a tornado.
Yeah, it really was. But I'd say, just know that you're not going to be stuck there. I promise. I promise. Even though it feels like it. Tell the brain, hey, you can get upset and throw your tantrum, but it'll stop at some point. So
Cindy, I
other
remember
suggestion I may have is to physically shake, much like a dog.
But I know what you're saying. Shake on purpose. I mean, I was trembling.
Yes, but shake on purpose. Shake on purpose. I have a Shih Tzu. He's a rescue. He adores me. And he doesn't like me cuddling him and snooky. He'll let me kind of like, go ahead. As soon as I put him down, shakes up that energy. So you can, and little kids will do that. You'll see little kids walking, holding hands with mom and dad, and all of a sudden they'll just, and
Yeah.
what they're really doing is shaking off that energy. And so that may be something that you could play with. And I like the idea of playing with things. And let me play with this for a minute. And that may be enough that you know that it could actually incite laughter, which would be a wonderful thing too.
So something that I knew my body needed was to guttural. There was a guttural um, sound that I needed to make,
Mhm.
and I also remembered, Jill, from our experience at on site, that something about humming, and so it wasn't necessarily humming, but it was a guttural noise. And I remember when I had my children, I made this noise, that same guttural noise, and that was a way of, I think, shaking it off in a way, getting it out. And for her to say to me, I know what she told me. I know I'm not going to say what she said to me, but she stated the problem. For her to say it out loud and why I was having this attack of panic, she knew. And just for me to hear her validate it and say it out loud, it was comforting. And then the hand on my forehead. And for me to now know that, I think is very helpful. For God forbid if I ever have that happen again. I hope not, but to know those things, because all the other things that I had done that had worked were not. I was too far gone, so to speak.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Remember that some of those things may work the next time, so don't give up on those.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I do know when I had mine, it was almost like I had a big bruise on my body. I felt exhausted. I still felt, I was beyond, I was over the panic part, but it was almost like somebody had just like smacked me and left a big bruise. I still felt that sensitivity. So please give yourself grace during this time too. And like, Linda and Jackie were saying, you will get through this. It sucks. It's not fun. And you will be okay in the near future.
I know that, Jill. I know I'll be okay. I think what really shook me tonight was, that bilateral tapping, which I was doing. That was one of the first things that I did, and the reaction I had tonight when I did it, and it just took me right there. And so I think I heard one of you say, you know, continue using those strategies to disconnect the strategies from that panic attack. So there's, because I do not want to, when I need those strategies, I don't want to use them and have that reaction I had tonight, to have it activate me again. Because I think what you were saying is I need to use them and use them and use them again, and just clip that association with that.
Well, and you
perhaps
may
not use that particular one. If
right,
that
But I
right.
used
particular
all of
one,
them. Linda, I was using every single one. So I need to like I said,
when
cut
you are,
that.
yeah, when you're down here,
Yes.
then pick
Yeah.
another one and play with that and see how that feels and go, oh, this is good, this is okay. And you can, the great thing about having a tool belt is that if you only have a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail, right? And so that's why you want different tools. And I love Jackie's analogy about books on a shelf, because yeah, some people think I have issues, but exactly, when you're like in this wait till you're calm, and then take a look at the books and go, maybe I'll glance through this one. Or I'm not in the mood and put that back on the shelf. But do that when you're in this space without the fear of, well, if I, you know, brush my
Yeah.
teeth, I remember I used to brush my teeth and that was an issue. Get yourself into a calm space. However you do that, you mentioned the humming that activates the vagal nerve and tells your whole body. When someone says you got some nerve, they're talking about the vagal nerve, and it
Mhm.
helps your whole body calm down. So humming is a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember too that this recently happened. So you are still in that sensitive, bruised stage.
That's an
Oh,
So
excellent point.
you may be okay once that bruise has healed, once that
Mhm.
sensitivity is gone. But right now, it's like anything you do is going to make that bruise still hurt.
That's an excellent point. Poking the bruise.
Exactly. So it's, you know, the bilateral tapping may be okay in another week or two, but that and some of the tools that you tried when you were in the middle of of the situation, those aren't good right now because you're still really sensitive.
yes. Yes, I'm raw.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You know,
And,
and
and, and it, yeah. Oh, sorry, Joe.
oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead, Jackie.
And I always say when we're raw, we need to go back to basics. It might be, making sure we're drinking enough water, making sure we're getting nutrition. If you can't eat, snack. There's no right and wrong foods during this time. So I had
My
someone,
friends,
yeah,
there are
I had a
two of
friend
my
talk about,
friends.
I binged chocolate all weekend. Okay, I'll allow you that weekend. Comfort, 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 comfort things that we feel, comfort movies, comfort people. Just let's just really give that nervous system time to go back to baseline.
Yeah,
And Cindy, I know
two of
that you
my,
have the Comfort Cub. That might help you right
no,
now.
Yeah.
Put
see,
it
I
on
don't,
your, you
I don't,
don't?
no,
Oh, I thought you had one.
no.
I'll get you one.
But I do
Um,
know two friends of mine on this call right here know what I do when I get upset and to this level of stress. I don't eat, and I'm not eating. So I do
Yeah, and if you
need to
if
pay
you
attention.
can't if you can't eat, try to snack. Try to, what are some of my favorite things? Let me just have a little bit of whatever that is. Not a You don't have to have the goal to have a big meal because I get it. I'm one of those people when I'm stressed, the stomach goes woo. And so I'll be like, like a comfort for me, a comfort food from being a kid is Campbell's chicken noodle soup. Let me tell you, like full on. And I don't put the full can of water because yuck. But anyway,
Yeah,
No,
half a
yeah,
can of
but
water.
yeah,
Absolutely.
for some people it's peanut butter and jelly sandwich. For some people it's Kraft mac and cheese. I don't know. Chocolate, like my friend did. But what I'm saying is just dial everything down. Back to basics, but it's okay. It's okay. And know that okay, it's gonna take some time, you know? Yeah, for sure.
thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
and Cindy, I know for me, and I think Jack kind of touched on this, because things have been going relatively well comparatively. I haven't been practicing my tools as much as I was. And it's one of those things, and Linda kind of touched on it, that it takes time to unlearn. We've only been using these tools for a few years. We've been in this heightened state for 8.5 years, and even before that, because of other things we've been through. So this is a really good reminder for me that I still need to be practicing those things when I am at, a level 0 or 2, because at any moment we can go from 0 to 100.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's for all of us, continue practicing those things that have worked in the past, because we never know when we're going to use them or need them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
we have a comment, even when I believe I am calm, toddler reactions and strangers having loud arguments or conversations on the phone in public make me tense up. Even when I move away from the noise, I feel like it follows me.
I relate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's
definitely one of those times to shake it off, right? And also to like physically brush it off. It's,
Mhm.
it's like you don't want to carry that energy with you. You want to just bleh. Um, there were two things that Linda said that I just wanted to kind of follow up on. One was that you called it the magic pen. And so what I like about that is whether I have a pen or not, I'm going to I'm going to have it. And it's stronger than I am because it's magic. And
Mhm.
so I don't have to rely on my own strength in the moment. I can realize I have that magic pen. And so I can translate that into something supernatural or whatever it is that is in my belief system. And that can help calm me to realize there's something bigger than me that's going to help me through it. Also, Jackie mentioned, I mean, it's always reassuring to me when that type of panic sets in is that this isn't going to last forever. And I try to narrate the best I can. However, sometimes, and when I say narrate, meaning like I'm talking to myself or I'm talking aloud about what my body's doing. Okay, my body's trembling right now. That's its way of releasing, because that helps me kind of stay present. But some of the things that get touched are pre-verbal, and that's when that how you said it's either pre-verbal or so heartbreaking there aren't words for it. So that's where that guttural humming comes in, because little kids, they're not going to have the words for it, right? But you'll hear them humming. You'll hear them humming when they're happy. Might hear them humming when they're angry. So that humming is actually really, really good for releasing that kind of pre-verbal stuff. And that, I mean, I really believe because it really comes to our bodies naturally, that our bodies were designed to have that kind of release, right? Where that it's just I like how you described it, guttural sound, where or a moaning,
Yeah.
a groaning or a moaning. And sometimes that can be a way of calming our bodies. It feels odd to us at the time because that's not how we generally communicate. However, this is not a usual conversation. This is something that's very unusual that needs to get expressed. So Cindy, I just really glad that you came tonight. I I'm sorry that it got activated, and at the same time, I'm glad we were able to share and talk it through. And I know you're really good at all the tools, and I hope that some of this stuff that we talked about tonight will help.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just encourage you with with what Jill said about the bruise analogy. I mean, that's just so important. The next couple of weeks, you're going to be a little tender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Protein shakes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Get
I
your
do know.
protein and then shake.
There you go. That's awesome.
That's cute.
I do know for me with the loud noises, especially if it's sudden, it does the hypervigilance goes into full drive, and it is hard to come back down off of that. So, unfortunately, I don't know that there's a way around it other than to use our tools and give ourselves grace,
And
you know.
and I think too, reminding ourselves of what is different now about and about what we're experiencing and why we're safe now. And this, how, even though the brain identified it as similar, good job, brain, that's what it's doing, but why it is like, okay, whatever it was, a noise, an experience, and, don't have to say, but okay, this is not that time. And here's why, and here's what's different.
The problem for me is I'm not safe. I found out some things that I am not safe, physically safe.
Okay.
And I don't have a plan. And
Okay.
I need to have a plan. And I don't have
Okay.
a plan. And
Yes.
there were other things,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there was no solution. There was no plan. There was no safety net. There was no plan for safety. Nobody was
And
offering anything
What I
either.
would suggest is you tell yourself, I'm in the process of having a plan. I'm in the process. You may not have a plan right now, but you are in the process of having a plan because number one in the process is I don't have one, I need one. So I'm in the process of having a plan. That will tell your subconscious mind, oh, we have to look for all the opportunities. Okay. So if you just say that to yourself as often as you feel that you can, I'm in the process of that. And that should certainly help. Dominique, what you want to share? I see your hand. I see you.
Yeah, you guys were mentioning, um, and I'm already drawing a blank. But just the things of like noise and safety. Um, when I am sick, especially, I feel like my immune system even just kind of like overcomes, oh, I can't help myself now. I'm fatigued, I am unwell, I'm like in pain or something. I know recently it's been asthma and allergies, so my head feels so clouded with headaches and dizziness. Um, Being in public spaces, I do shorten those times. I manage those times. I've been bad about putting my earplugs in to reduce noise, but it's like, why does the body feel a little more helpless when your immune system is suppressed? Shouldn't it be a little more vigilant? I guess that's my concern, that I just feel more helpless than vigilant.
I I mean, I'll throw in my 2 cents real quick, but
Okay.
the body is expending energy, time, and resources on getting you better
Better.
because
Okay.
that's a threat to health and safety as well. And
Mm.
so if they're spending the resources in this area, there might not be as much resources in that area. Does that make sense? That's my thought. Not a doctor, just play one
That,
on two.
you know
But
what? I left the mayonnaise open this morning because I was just like, I got to get to point A to point B, and I just didn't have the energy to remember that I
yeah,
forgot that I made a sandwich this morning.
Linda, would you agree with that
I would
analogy?
absolutely agree. And it
Okay.
also has to do with frequency.
Okay.
And when we're at a higher frequency, um, you're healthier, you're more sound mind and things like that. When your frequency gets lowered, then yeah, you're going to be more vulnerable to physical and mental and emotional upsets and things like that. So the higher your frequency, and the quickest way to raise your frequency is through laughter.
That I
So,
That is one of my mottos. I think I kind of figured that out in high school when I started realizing life isn't all giddy and happy memories all the time.
mhm.
I think that's when I started recognizing grief, started recognizing loss,
Yes,
and it
you
seemed
can
that
cry
joy
a
of choosing.
river and it'll eventually go up, but the
Okay.
quickest way up is through laughter,
That's good.
and
Okay.
inappropriate laughter.
Yes.
Sometimes it's then suppressed laughter is the best laughter.
Okay.
And if you're afraid, things are going to come out of places, it's great. That's I have
Well,
a I
I
have
work with 6 and 7 year olds, so that stuff is
perfect.
normal for me.
I have a friend who spews. If you catch her at the right time, she'll be she'll
No.
spew. And my goal is always to do that when we're on the phone. And when we're together, I never sit across from her. I always sit next to her because I'm not sitting across from that one. So, but it has your frequency go up as soon as possible. So when they say laughter is the best medicine, well,
It
it
is
has to do with
psychologically proven.
frequency. Mhm,
Yeah. Thank
mhm.
you.
Anybody else? I think bottom line is we all have some practicing to do. Just kind of refresh ourselves and remember that, there are times that all the tools that we've learned aren't going to work. And we will get through it. It might take a little while, but we will get through it.
And I would agree with Linda that if you're not feeling safe, your number one thing is to increase that sense of safety. And maybe in that moment, you can't get to, I feel 100% safe, but if I, and I'm just making up stuff, if I go stay with a friend instead of stay in my own home, I'm 20% safer. If I, get maybe authorities, whatever you need to do to just keep upping that safety. Um, there's, you guys probably know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like it's that triangle thing.
Yeah.
And at the base of the triangle is safety. And if you're not feeling safe, you can't do the other stuff. So, and reach out to us. I'm here too. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so we wanted to give you Linda's contact information if you have any questions, if you have any interest in any of the work that she does. And if you come to visit me, she only lives 15 minutes from me, so we can go visit her together. So feel free to reach out to her if you have anything, and definitely with the compassion, I wrote it down, the calm restoration. Sign up for that if you feel like that. Um, so I want to remind you guys that we have the Continuing the Conversation with Heart support groups. They take place the third Tuesday of each month at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, and the fourth Thursday of each month at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. Those are facilitated by Jackie and myself, and they are open to anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. We found out today that Onsite still does have I believe they said 2 openings left. If anybody is interested, the dates are June 18th through 24th. It's at their campus in Ramona, California, which is just outside of San Diego. The program cost is covered through donations. The only out of pocket for people impacted by mass shootings is a $300 registration fee and transportation to San Diego, whether it's to the airport or you driving to campus. The one thing is you must be at least 1 year post incident. And if you have any interest, you can sign up at their onsitefoundation.org/triumph over tragedy. And if anybody has any questions about this, it's something that I've been lucky enough to attend now twice, and I'm more than happy to talk with you guys about it. Next month, we have a mass violence survivor, Nadine, who is going to be talking to us about resilience after trauma, how the brain survives and how we heal. And she is actually going for her master's in, Alice, help me.
Clinical professional counseling.
Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome.
So she's going to speak from both the clinical side and the experiential side. Um, Wanted to make sure you guys knew also the resources we have. If you want to be paired with a heart mentor, you can go to resiliencyandyjustice.org/heart. Click on request heart peer support. The disaster distress helpline was created for people impacted by natural and man-made disasters. They have 24/7 crisis support calls. You can call or text 800-985-5990. This does not have to be a crisis per se. You could be up in the middle of the night, not able to sleep. You can give them a call and they have somebody who will go help you calm down so that you can hopefully go back to sleep. The National Mass Violence Center has some amazing information available, both on their website, nmvvrc.org, and they have a virtual resiliency center with lots of information as well. They also have the Transcend NMVC app, which was created in part by survivors for survivors. Make sure when you search for it that you put the NMVC in there because there are other Transcend apps. And then, good number to have on hand is the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline in case anybody around you needs that. So, just a reminder, we have all the integrative services programs offered through the Resiliency and Justice Center are available to anybody impacted by any mass violence incident. There are quite a few of them. The only in-person one is the equine therapy demonstration. If you happen to live in Vegas or visiting and they're doing a demonstration while you're there, please feel free to join. For more information or to register, please go to resiliencyandyjustice.org/calendar. Real quick look at the calendar for May. Anything that is not event specific is open to anyone impacted by any mass violence incident. So there's quite a few things that are offered for free. And that is it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And have a wonderful evening.